Hey everyone, and welcome back to Talk Tickers, where we, talk tickers. Today we're diving deep into Organigram's Q1 2025 earnings call, and there's a lot to unpack.
There really is.
So let's jump right in.
Sounds good.
Organigram is now Canada's largest cannabis company by market share, and they're really hitting it out of the park.
It's pretty remarkable how they've cemented their leadership position.
Right. I mean, their market share just exploded, growing 500 basis points year over year.
And 100 basis points sequentially.
Yeah, exactly. And, a big part of that is their focus on pre-rolls and vapes.
Smart move to double down on those high-growth categories.
Absolutely. They're crushing it in those segments.
Oh, yeah, totally dominating. They've got 22% of the vape market share.
Wow. I mean, that's a huge jump from where they were just a year ago.
It speaks volumes about their brand strength.
For sure. And speaking of brands, their flagship brands, SHRD and Box-A-D-T, are bringing in serious cash.
Almost $100 million in combined sales this quarter alone.
That's incredible. Almost half of their total revenue coming from those two brands.
Yeah. And don't forget about Big Bag of Buds and Debunk. Those are performing really well, too.
Yeah, they've more than doubled their market share compared to last year.
It's clear that Organigram's got a knack for building winning brands.
They really do. But you know what really impressed me? How they handled the whole edibles situation.
Oh, yeah, the gummy wars.
Exactly. They were facing some tough competition from those lower-priced gummies.
Everyone was trying to undercut everyone else.
But Organigram didn't just jump into a price war. They got strategic.
They did. They launched their own value brand, SHRD's gummies.
Smart move.
Right. But they also went upmarket with the Edison Sonics.
Oh, yeah, those are interesting. Using their proprietary fast technology for faster onset.
And higher cannabinoid concentration.
So they're basically covering the entire spectrum from value to premium.
Brilliant strategy.
And on top of that, they also rolled out those SHRD Heavy Slims.
Their first infused tube-style pre-rolls.
Yeah, they're constantly innovating and expanding their product line.
It's no wonder they're the #1 brand in almost every region of Canada.
Almost. They're actually ranked 4th in Quebec.
Ah, yes. Quebec, always a bit of a unique market.
But they're not giving up on Quebec. They've got plans to introduce their vapes there once regulations allow.
And they're launching products specifically grown in their Quebec facility.
It's a smart move to tailor their approach to each region.
Absolutely.
But all this growth and innovation, it has to be backed by solid operations, right?
You're absolutely right. And that's where their investment in seed-based cultivation really shines.
Yeah, seed-based cultivation, that's been their big talking point.
It's a game changer for the industry.
Can you break it down for us? Why is this such a big deal?
Well, think of it this way. With clones, you're essentially making copies of copies.
Okay.
But with seed-based cultivation, you're starting fresh with the original blueprint.
I see. So it's all about genetic consistency.
Exactly. And healthier plants lead to higher yields and better quality.
So they're getting more product of higher quality, all for less money.
You got it. And Organigram is one of the first major companies to really embrace this method.
That gives them a huge advantage.
It does. And they're not stopping there in Q1. 21% of their harvest came from seed-based rooms.
Wow. So they're really scaling it up.
Big time. Plus, they're implementing other efficiency measures like upgrading their Moncton facility with LED lighting.
So they're squeezing every bit of efficiency out of their operations.
That's right. Every little bit counts.
And of course, we can't forget about the Motif acquisition.
Oh, yeah. That's been a huge win for them.
It seems to be going really smoothly.
They're already seeing those synergies they were talking about?
Surpassing their initial estimates for savings.
Exactly.
They've streamlined distribution, increased extraction volume, and expanded their sales coverage.
And their extraction volume is through the roof. They're exceeding expectations.
Right.
They're moving their extracts from Aylmer to Moncton.
And biomass is flowing the other way.
Yep. It's all about optimizing their operations.
So they've doubled their THCA output.
A key ingredient in those infused pre-rolls. And they're doing all this while maintaining a healthy balance sheet.
Very impressive. And what about their sales teams? Are they working well together?
Like a well-oiled machine. They're securing new listings, filling coverage gaps, you name it.
And they're collaborating on innovation.
Absolutely. Sharing ideas, expertise, technologies. It's a real merger of minds.
That's fantastic. But let's zoom out a bit and talk about their global ambitions.
Ah, yes, international expansion.
They've been talking a lot about that, especially with their investment in Sanity Group in Germany.
They're already serving customers in 4 countries, which is great for consistent demand.
In Germany is a huge potential market.
Especially with the possibility of recreational legalization.
That's right. So how is Sanity Group positioning itself for this potential shift?
They're going all in, applying for recreational pilot projects in 6 German jurisdictions.
Wow, that's ambitious.
They've got experience from Swiss pilot projects too, so they're well prepared.
And how does Organigram fit into all of this?
Well, if those pilot projects move forward, they might not have the same strict product restrictions as the medical market.
So Organigram could introduce their own brands and IP to the German recreational market.
Exactly. It's a massive potential opportunity.
A complete game changer.
It would be. But for now, they're focusing on increasing their flower shipments to Germany.
They're just waiting on that EU GMP certification for their Moncton facility.
Which has come through sometime this spring.
And once they have that certification,
They'll be able to really ramp up those international shipments.
leading to even better margins.
Absolutely. Their international sales already hit $3.3 million in Q1.
And they're expecting that to continue growing.
Throughout fiscal year 2025.
Exciting times. But Germany is just one piece of the puzzle.
They're looking at other opportunities too.
They're actively scouting for strategic investments worldwide.
They're thinking beyond traditional cannabis markets.
Smart move to be a first mover in those emerging sectors.
Absolutely. Got to stay ahead of the curve.
But okay, let's talk numbers. How did they actually perform financially in Q1?
Very well. Revenue jumped 17% year over year to $42.7 million.
Wow. That's a healthy increase.
Driven by strong brand performance and those booming international sales.
Excellent. And what about profitability?
Their adjusted gross margin climbed to 33%.
That's impressive. How did they achieve that?
Profitable international sales and those ongoing operational efficiencies.
Makes sense. And they're projecting a 35% margin for the full fiscal year.
With some fluctuations expected due to seasonality.
Okay, and the bottom line. Did they hit positive adjusted EBITDA?
They did. $1.4 million in adjusted EBITDA.
That's a big improvement from last year.
And they're expecting even stronger performance in fiscal year 2025.
Especially in the second half of the year.
As those international shipments ramp up and they hit peak seasonality.
Sounds very promising. But what about their cash position and debt levels?
They're in a great spot. They ended the quarter with $71.2 million in cash.
And basically no debt.
That's right. They've got plenty of financial firepower to execute on their growth plans.
Speaking of which, they do have some significant capital expenditures planned.
Yeah, they've allocated between $8 and $10 million for sustaining capital expenditures in fiscal 2025.
And up to $16 million for that Moncton flower capacity expansion project.
Over the next 18 months.
But they're planning to fund all of that from operating cash flow.
Exactly. Plus, they've got that final $41.5 million tranche from their BAT follow-on investment coming in.
Which closes later this month.
It's all about strategic financial management.
They're doing a great job of balancing their investments with maintaining a healthy financial position.
Absolutely.
So they're growing their market share, expanding internationally, innovating with new products, and staying financially stable.
It's a winning combination.
They're really firing on all cylinders.
And they're proving that you can be a leader in this industry while staying true to your values.
It's all about responsible and sustainable growth.
That's right. Organigram is a company to watch, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of things to watch, let's shift gears and talk about a potential trade idea based on Organigram's performance and future prospects.
Okay, let's have some fun with this.
Now remember, everyone, this is purely hypothetical and for entertainment purposes only.
This is not financial advice segment.
Exactly. So let's just imagine for a moment that the upcoming Canadian federal election brings in a new government that is super pro-cannabis.
Yeah, okay, I'm listening.
They slash those excise taxes, streamline regulations, and they're all about encouraging international expansion.
Sounds like a dream scenario for the industry.
Right. And at the same time, Organigram's seed-based cultivation is just booming.
They're producing high-quality cannabis at a cost that undercuts all their competitors.
Exactly. So they've got a favorable regulatory environment and a cost advantage. What's next?
Well, what's a high-growth market that's ripe for disruption?
How about Australia?
Australia, interesting.
They've already got their foot in the door with international markets.
Yeah.
But Australia's medical cannabis market is really taking off.
Yes, I see where you're going with this.
So Organigram swoops in not just with their premium flower, but with their high-margin vapes edibles, the whole shebang.
Offering a diverse and appealing product portfolio.
They're leveraging their expertise to tap into a market with less competition.
Smart move. But how do they really dominate the market?
Here's the kicker. They partner with a major Australian healthcare provider.
Ooh, I like it.
One with a huge network of clinics and patients.
So they're locking in those exclusive distribution deals.
Becoming the go-to supplier for medical cannabis in Australia.
Wow. creating a captive market.
Exactly. Lower production costs, a supportive regulatory environment, a strategic partnership, and a first-mover advantage.
That's a recipe for serious potential upside.
A long-term play, but with potentially huge returns.
This is fun to think about, but remember, everyone,
This is purely hypothetical and for entertainment purposes only.
definitely not financial advice.
Yeah.
Do your own research, consult with a professional, and don't invest more than you can afford to lose.
Always good advice, but it's fun to dream right.
It is. And who knows, maybe this wild scenario could actually play out. The cannabis industry is full of surprises.
That is.
So listeners, what do you think? Could this be a winning trade? Let us know in the comments.
And join us again next time as we continue to deep dive into the world of earnings calls.
Yeah, it is fun to think about all that.
But it's important to remember that this is all hypothetical.
Definitely. Not financial advice.
But it's fun to dream, right? And speaking of dreams, Organigram is really building something special here.
They are. It's not just about growth for them. It's about responsible, sustainable growth.
Yeah, they're not just chasing profits. They're trying to do things the right way.
Exactly. And that's what sets them apart.
Consumers are becoming more and more conscious of these things.
Especially in this industry.
And Organigram is leading the charge in areas like seed-based cultivation.
Which is not only more efficient, but also more environmentally friendly.
It's a win-win for everyone.
Absolutely. And they're also focused on building strong relationships with the communities where they operate.
Both in Canada and internationally.
They understand that being a successful company means more than just making money.
It's about making a positive impact.
That's right. They're thinking long-term, building a brand that stands for something.
That's a powerful approach.
And it's something investors should pay attention to.
Absolutely. So, to wrap things up, what are your final thoughts on Organigram's Q1 2025 performance and their future prospects?
Well, I'm impressed. They're firing on all cylinders. They're executing their growth strategy effectively. They're innovating. They're expanding internationally. And they're doing it all while maintaining a strong financial position. They're definitely a company to watch.
I couldn't agree more. Organigram is a company that's not afraid to push boundaries. And they're doing it in a way that's sustainable and responsible. It's an exciting time to be following their journey.
It is. And as always, it's important for investors to do their own research and make informed decisions. But based on what we've seen today, Organigram is a company with a compelling story and a bright future ahead.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on Talk Tickers today.
My pleasure.
We'll be back next time with another deep dive into the world of earnings calls. Until then, happy investing.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today, but there's one more thing I want to touch on before we wrap up.
What's that?
The Canadian federal election.
Ah, yes, that's right. It's coming up soon.
They mentioned it briefly in the earnings call, but I think it's worth digging a little deeper.
I agree. It could have a big impact on the cannabis industry, depending on which party wins.
Exactly. Different policies, different regulations, it could shake things up.
For sure. But it seems like Organigram is prepared for any outcome.
They did seem pretty optimistic that either party would be supportive of the industry.
They're ready to adapt to whatever changes come their way.
Which is smart. It's a rapidly evolving industry. You got to be flexible.
Absolutely.
But let's play devil's advocate for a minute.
Mhm.
What are some potential challenges Organigram might face, regardless of who wins the election?
Well, the competition in the Canadian market is fierce.
Yeah, there are a lot of players vying for market share. Organigram is doing great, but they can't afford to get complacent.
Right. They need to keep innovating and stay ahead of the curve.
And then there's the regulatory landscape, which is always changing.
Not just in Canada, but globally.
Keeping up with all those different regulations and compliance requirements can be a real headache.
That's a lot to juggle.
And let's not forget about the economic uncertainty that's out there.
Yeah, inflation, interest rate hikes, recessions, all that fun stuff.
It could definitely impact consumer spending, which could trickle down to the cannabis industry.
So there are some potential headwinds.
There are, but I think Organigram is well positioned to weather the storm.
I agree. They've got a solid track record, a strategic approach, and a strong financial position.
They've proven they can adapt and overcome challenges.
So to sum it all up,
Organigram had a fantastic Q1 2025.
they're leading the Canadian cannabis market with impressive growth, innovative products, and a commitment to sustainability.
They're making smart moves with their acquisitions, and they're strategically expanding into international markets.
They're definitely a company to keep an eye on.
As always, though, we encourage you to do your own research and consult with a financial professional before making any investment decisions.
This is just our analysis and is not financial advice.
But we hope you found it insightful.
Thanks for joining us on Talk Tickers today.
It's been a pleasure.
And until next time, happy investing.